My name is Alina Voss. I am 28 years old. The day my father's will was read, I was told I would get nothing. Everyone accepted it, but I couldn't, because the man I knew would never do that to me. So I started digging, and when I finally discovered the truth, everything collapsed. Before I tell you what I discovered, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and tell me your country in the comments. Now, let's begin. The room felt too quiet, not the peaceful kind, but the kind that makes your chest tighten. We were all sitting around the long wooden table in my father's lawyer's office, the curtains half closed, soft afternoon light barely reaching the center. No one was talking. My older brother, Daniel, sat across from me with his arms folded, his face calm, too calm. My younger sister, Lila, kept looking at her phone, tapping the screen like she didn't want to be there. My mother sat straight, hands in her lap, eyes fixed on the lawyer. No one looked at me, and that was the first thing I noticed. The lawyer cleared his throat and adjusted his glasses. "Thank you all for coming," he said calmly. "We will now proceed with the reading of Mr. Victor Voss's will." Hearing my father's name like that, so formal, so distant, made my throat tighten. Just weeks ago, he was alive, sitting beside me, talking to me, calling my name. And now he was just a name on paper. My eyes filled with tears, but I looked down, forcing myself to stay composed. The last year of his life had been painful. At first, it was small things, forgetting where he placed things, getting tired easily. Then it got worse. Doctor visits became regular, medicines increased, and his body grew weaker day by day. Then came the nights, the long, silent nights when he couldn't sleep because of the pain. I would sit beside him, holding his hand while he tried to rest. Sometimes he said nothing, just breathed slowly like he was fighting through it. Other times, he would look at me and force a small smile. Most of the time, it was just me. I was the one who stayed. I gave him his medicines on time, helped him eat when his hands started shaking, and took him outside for fresh air, even if it was only for a few minutes. One evening, I helped him sit in the garden as the sun was setting. He looked tired, but peaceful. Then he said something I will never forget. "Alina, I think I've become a burden." My chest tightened. "Don't say that," I told him, but he shook his head. "They don't come anymore," he said quietly. "Your brother, your sister, even your mother, they stay away." There was no anger in his voice, just a quiet, heavy sadness. "They have their lives," I said softly, even though I knew it wasn't the full truth. He looked at me for a long moment, then said the words that broke me. "But you stayed." I couldn't reply. I just held his hand tighter. "Dad," I whispered, "no matter what, I'm here, always." And I meant it because he wasn't a burden to me. He was my father, and I loved him more than anything. My siblings weren't always like that. In the beginning, they visited, talked to him, acted like they cared. But as his condition worsened, everything changed. The visits became less frequent, then shorter, and then they stopped completely. There was always an excuse: work, busy schedules, meetings. Even my mother was only there physically, never truly present. She avoided the hard moments, the hospital trips, the nights when he needed someone the most. So in the end, it was just me and him. That's why sitting in that room now, listening to his will, I wasn't worried. I wasn't thinking about money or property. I believed one thing: he knew me. He knew what I had done for him. He knew I would never leave him. And I trusted that. The lawyer continued reading in a steady voice, going through formalities and details that didn't matter. Then he reached the main part. I lifted my head slightly. This was it. "This estate," he said, "including all properties, financial assets, and holdings, will be distributed as follows." He paused, and my heart started beating faster. "The primary residence will be transferred to Daniel Voss." Daniel didn't react, not even with a blink. "The remaining financial assets will be equally divided between Daniel Voss and Lila Voss." Lila stopped tapping her phone. Still no one looked surprised. Something tightened in my chest. The lawyer glanced at the paper again, then said it. "Alina Voss will receive no portion of the estate." Silence. For a moment, I thought I heard it wrong. My mind tried to fix it, to make sense of it, but the words didn't change. No portion. Nothing. I slowly looked up. Daniel leaned back slightly in his chair. Lila avoided my eyes. My mother didn't move. No one spoke. No one questioned it. No one looked shocked. It was like they already knew. Something dropped inside me. Not anger. Not yet. Just confusion. Deep, heavy confusion. This didn't make sense. Not after everything I had done. Not after everything he had said to me. I remembered the hospital nights. The way he held my hand and said, "You've always been the strongest one." I remembered how he trusted me, even when he could barely speak. So how could that same man leave me with nothing? My mother finally spoke. Her voice was soft, but cold underneath. "Your father made his decisions carefully." I turned and looked at her. Carefully? That word didn't feel right. I searched her face for something, anything, but there was no sadness, no hesitation, just acceptance. "I see," I said quietly. My voice didn't shake. The lawyer closed the file. "If there are no objections, we will proceed with the legal process." No objections. No questions. Nothing. Daniel stood up first, adjusting his jacket like this was just another meeting. "We'll coordinate the next steps," he said casually. Lila grabbed her bag and followed. My mother stood last, looked at me briefly, no comfort, no guilt, then walked away. And just like that, it was over. I stayed there for a few seconds longer, alone. The silence felt heavier now. One thought came clearly. He wouldn't do this. Not to me. Not after everything. And if there was a reason, I was going to find it. I didn't go home right away. I sat in my car outside the lawyer's office, my hands resting on the steering wheel, everything feeling heavy. Not because of money, but because I knew one thing: my father couldn't have done this without a reason. I started the engine and drove home, but my thoughts wouldn't stop. They kept circling back to the same point. He wouldn't do this. Not after everything. Not without a reason. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him, sitting in his chair, looking at me, saying, "You stayed." I sat up and turned on the light, my chest tight. Something about all of this didn't make sense, and the more I thought about it, the worse it felt. If something was wrong, then the answers had to be somewhere. And there was only one place that made sense: my father's study. That was where he kept everything important: his documents, his decisions, his truth. If there was something he wanted me to know, he would have left it there. I didn't wait. I got out of bed, grabbed my keys, and drove straight to the house. The house was quiet when I stepped inside. Too quiet. It didn't feel like home anymore. It felt empty, like something important was missing. I walked slowly toward his study and stopped at the door, memories hitting me all at once. Him at his desk, reading papers, calling me in for small things. I took a deep breath and pushed the door open. The moment I stepped inside, I froze. Something was wrong. The room looked clean, organized, but not the way he left it. The files were arranged differently, the chair slightly moved. Even the lamp was at a different angle. It was subtle, but I knew this room better than anyone. And this wasn't how he kept it. A cold feeling ran through me. Someone had already been here, looking for something. I moved to the desk and started checking, opening drawers, going through files. Old bills, medical reports, prescriptions, nothing unusual. Everything looked normal. Too normal. I checked the cabinet next, more papers, more files. Still nothing. Frustration started building. Was I overthinking this? Was this really just how things were? No. I shook my head. Something was wrong. I could feel it. Then I remembered the safe. My father had a small safe hidden behind a painting. No one knew about it. Not my siblings. Not my mother. Only me and him. Months ago, he had asked me to take something out of it. That's how I knew. I walked to the painting and slowly moved it aside. The safe was still there, exactly where it always was. My heart started beating faster. If there was anything important, it would be inside. I entered the code carefully. For a second, I thought I had forgotten it. Then click. The safe opened. I let out a breath and reached inside. There were few documents, some jewelry, and a small folder. I took it out and placed it on the desk, my hands cold as I opened it. Inside were neatly arranged papers. financial records, investment details. Nothing connected to the will. Then something caught my attention. A folded document, different from the rest. I picked it up slowly, and the moment my eyes moved across the page, everything went silent. It was a will, but not the one I heard earlier that day. This one was clear, detailed, undeniable. The house, the savings, the investments, everything, every single thing was left to me. My vision blurred as tears filled my eyes. I read it again, slower this time, just to be sure. But nothing changed. Then something slipped out from behind the pages. A small folded note. My breath caught as I picked it up. I opened it and saw his handwriting. Alina, I know you will find this after I'm gone. I'm writing this because I know your family. I know what they're capable of. They will try to take everything from you. That's why I hid this will here. Only you know about this place. I trust you. Always have. No matter what happens, don't let them take what's yours. My hands started shaking as tears fell freely. Dad, I whispered, my voice breaking. He knew. He knew everything. Even in his final days, he was still protecting me. I sat down in his chair, holding the will and the note tightly. I knew it, I cried softly. I knew you wouldn't do this. All that pain, all that confusion, it wasn't real. He didn't leave me. They were trying to take everything from me. My breathing became uneven, my chest heavy. Not just from sadness anymore, but from something deeper, something darker. If this was the real will, then the one they showed today was fake. I wiped my tears slowly. My hands were still shaking, but something inside me had changed. They thought I didn't know. They thought I would accept it, walk away quietly. I looked at the will again. Then, at his note. Okay, I whispered. My voice was different now. Calm. Cold. If this is how they want to play. I took a slow breath. Then I'll play too. I didn't confront them. Not immediately. Because I knew one thing. If I simply showed them the will, they would deny it, call it fake, twist everything, and somehow make me the problem. So I stayed quiet. For now. The next 2 days, I barely slept. Not because I was confused anymore, but because I was thinking. Carefully. Step by step. If they had planned this, then I needed something stronger than just the truth. I needed proof, something they couldn't talk their way out of. That's when I remembered the cameras. Years ago, after a small break-in, my father had installed security cameras around the house. Nothing fancy, just simple ones. He handled everything himself, even adjusted their angles from time to time. At some point, everyone forgot about them, but I didn't. My heart started beating faster as I went to check the system. If there was anything at all, it would be there. I turned on the screen. Old recordings started loading. Days, weeks, clips of empty rooms, normal moments, nothing important. For a second, I thought maybe I was too late, maybe whatever happened was never recorded. Then, I found it. A recording from 3 days before his death. My fingers paused for a moment. Then I pressed play. The screen showed the living room. My father was sitting in his chair, looking weak, tired, more than I remembered. A few seconds passed. Then the door opened. Daniel walked in first, followed by Lila and then my mother. My body went still. They didn't sit like it was a normal visit. There was something different, something planned. Dad, Daniel started, his voice calm. We need to talk about the will. My heart skipped. My father looked at him slowly, confused. We already talked about it, he said weakly. Lila leaned forward slightly. Things have changed, she said, her tone soft but cold underneath. My mother stepped closer. You need to think practically, she added. I felt my grip tighten. Daniel continued. Alina is stable. She has her own life. She doesn't need this. Lila nodded. She'll be fine on her own. My father looked between them, slow, tired. No, he said. His voice weak but clear. But they didn't stop. They kept talking, pressuring him, again and again. My mother's voice softened, but her words didn't. It's better this way, she said. Transfer everything to them. Silence filled the room. Heavy, uncomfortable. My father looked down, then back at them. I already decided, he said quietly. But they didn't accept it. The video continued, And with every second, the truth became clearer. This wasn't concern. This wasn't care. This was pressure. I stopped the video. My hands were shaking, but not from sadness anymore. From anger. They didn't just lie. They didn't just take advantage of me. They pushed him in his weakest moment. I leaned back slowly and closed my eyes for a second. Now I understood everything. And now, I had everything I needed. The real will. The note. And now, proof. The final property transfer meeting was scheduled 2 days later. Relatives were invited, and everyone would be there. Perfect. That day, I arrived early.
Calm.
Quiet. One by one, they walked in, confident, relaxed. Daniel was already talking to the lawyer. Lila was smiling and whispering to someone, and my mother stood near the table, composed as always. None of them looked worried because they thought I didn't know. The meeting started. The lawyer began speaking in the same steady tone. We are here today to finalize the transfer of assets. Wait. My voice cut through the room. Calm, steady. Everyone turned toward me. I stood up slowly and walked to the table. My heart was beating fast, but my face stayed composed. I think, I said, placing the folder down, there's something everyone should see first. The lawyer frowned. Daniel stiffened. My mother's expression shifted just slightly. I opened the folder and took out the will. This, I said, is my father's actual will. Murmurs spread across the room. That's not, Daniel started. I'm not finished. My voice didn't rise, but it stopped him. I placed the note beside it. And this is what he left for me. The air changed instantly, tense, heavy. The lawyer stepped forward slightly. Alina, where did you get this? He asked carefully. I didn't answer. Instead, I looked at all of them one by one. Then I reached into my bag and took out my phone. A small movement, but it changed everything. Maybe this will explain it better, I said. Then I played the video. The room fell completely silent. Every word, every moment played in front of everyone. No one moved. No one spoke. Daniel's face lost color. Lila looked down. My mother didn't blink. When the video ended, the silence felt heavier than before. I looked at them, all of them. I will never forget this, I said quietly. My voice didn't shake, but every word carried weight. You didn't just try to take what was mine. I paused, my eyes moving from Daniel to Lila, then to my mother. You pressured him. In his weakest state, when he could barely defend himself. No one spoke. Daniel shifted in his seat. Lila's hands trembled slightly as she looked down. My mother opened her mouth like she wanted to say something, to explain, to deny, but she couldn't. The truth was already there, right in front of everyone. The room slowly filled with whispers. Low at first, then louder. How could they do that? To their own father? To their own daughter? Some relatives stared at them in disbelief. Others shook their heads. A few didn't even try to hide their disgust. Daniel tried to speak again. This isn't what it looks like. But even he knew it was useless. No one was listening anymore. I didn't say anything else. There was nothing left to say. I closed the folder slowly and picked up my bag. For a moment, I just stood there, not looking at them anymore. Because they didn't matter now. Then I turned and walked away. Not rushed. Not angry.
Just done.
Because for the first time, I didn't feel like I had lost anything. I had the truth. I had what my father left for me, and I no longer had a reason to stay.